Hello, how are you? We're going to talk about the passive today, Unit 7 from Advanced Language Practice, passive number 2. And we're actually looking at have something done, right? Which is a causative use. First, let's get started with what your notes say, right? So let's go to have something done. And the first example, I have just had my car serviced, which is very much like this one. I had my hair cut. We're having our car repaired, right? You have more examples here. Having my flat painted, have something done, have your hair done, have the roof repaired. All of them involve the combination of have with a past participle, right? And the idea that you cause someone, basically that you make arrangements for somebody to perform a service for you, right? And usually this involves paying, right? Now there's another use which appears here, which is we have had our car stolen. So we need a lift, right? And this is the same one here. She had her bag stolen. And this is when you suffer the effects of what somebody else does to you, right? This is slightly different, right? This involves actually not an action you arrange, but frankly, quite the contrary, right? It is the opposite. So this is what we're going to call have for unfortunate events, right? And in this case, you become the victim, right? So I'm going to write it down here, so just so you have the reference. Have for unfortunate events, right? We're not going to look that up because that doesn't exist here. Actually, I don't know if grammar teachers call it the same way. Maybe they have another name for this have. But let's remember that though it looks causative, it is not, right? Now, there are other cases in which have can become combined. And now I'm not going to follow your notes, right? So be careful with another verb, right? The different variations, right? He had the bouncers throw them out of the club. So in this case, there's again this idea that somebody did something and there was a consequence. But look at the use of throw in the present without to, in infinitive without to. Then I'll have you know, right? This is idiomatic, actually. I'll have you know, I'm a black belt in judo, right? So I really want you to know this, right? Very much like in Spanish, para que te lo sepas, right? Or para que lo sepas. That it is clearly a kind of warning, right? And then have somebody plus an adverb or a preposition. Be careful, because she's always having the builders in to do something for her. So now it's the infinitive with to, right? And once again, this is causative, right? So she's calling them in. There's another case. I want to have everything ready here. Now, ready is an adverb, so we're not going, an adjective, so we're not going to focus on this one. But the second example, he had his audience listening attentively. So this idea of have plus ing form is very causative, is strongly causative, but mostly in the sense of being successful in bringing something about, right? As in being instrumental, to be instrumental. Well, actually, I can look up the word because I want to leave this. No. When you're instrumental, oh dear. When you're instrumental, it's because your actions are part of a desired result, right? You have an instrumental role, or you are instrumental in bringing about an end to the conflict, right? So you're really part of it, right? Now, I would like to focus on some other combinations of have, and you had one there, right? You had me doubt my fashion sense, right? Now, once again, we have plus doubt in the infinitive without to, right? Let's go anyway to this use of have, because there was an example there that was slightly different, so I think it's going to be important, right? So let's go to where we were, and the example here was he had the bouncers throw them out, right? So in this case, clearly this was a causative action, but in you had me doubt my fashion sense. I don't think there's a causative use there, right? And there are other examples like I've never had my hair fall out in this way, or if you wish, I've never had my clothes dissolve like this. Watch out, dissolve, double S, but it's a Z, right? Now, what all these examples share is first the combination of have with the verb in infinitive without to, but also the fact that you're referring to one very unusual event, right? So this use of have something plus a verb in infinitive without to wants to single out an action that is very unusual, right? Now, earlier we had, let's go back to the notes because I want this instrumental case, right? Had his audience listening attentively, and we can actually refer to this as being successful in doing something, right? So another typical example is after several hours, he had all the children singing, right? So the idea is that this ing form, this have plus the ing form and an object, the audience, the children, whatever, refers to something in which you were successful, right? You just succeeded in getting them to do something. So this is the instrumental one, the helping one, or even persuading, if you wish. Now, there are some combinations with will, and in this case, I want to use the search box again to share some examples, right? Such as, I won't have you staying late at night. I won't have you stay, or staying late at night. I won't staying late at night, right? And what you mean is, I won't tolerate this. And also, I won't allow you. Yes, I won't allow it, right? And also we have another combination. If you do that, you'll have everyone complaining, right? Again, this is causative, right? You have everyone complaining, and we have the ing form to emphasize the repetition, right? So beware of these uses of have, and remember they're not in your notes in the book, right? So now we're going to move, we're going to go back to the notes and actually have a look at get something done, right? Initially, you should know that we use get in the passive informally, right? So be careful when you use it in writing, because if you use it instead of the passive, as in Martin got arrested, we prefer the passive in the case, right? Martin was arrested, right? But some cases in which get, as in get your car serviced, is combined with must. According to these notes, this is kind of obligatory, right? If you use must, you won't use have, but sometimes you do say must have something done, right? But usually also must get something done. What is true is that if you want to use this causative structure in the imperative, you cannot say have. You will say get your hair cut, right? And if you want to use eventually, as in you eventually manage to do something, there's also the tendency to use get, right? We eventually got the car fixed, and Sue always gets things done in the office. Eventually is not there, but it is implied, right? Okay, what follows is just a comment, a brief comment on the rest of the unit, and actually I would like you to go for the examples, right? One is that need actually takes an ing form. Your hair needs cutting. This room needs painting, whatever, right? This is the pattern that is typical of the verb need, right? And now what you get is several forms of the passive, right? Actually, some of them, many of them I mentioned in the previous video, and I would just like you to go over the examples, right? Frankly, I don't have anything in particular to say about these examples, only that remember what I said in the previous video, that there's a tendency to use the passive in English, and not just because you're talking you're using a technical text, but also because, or scientific, right? Also because it is normal in English to avoid mentioning the doer, right? And this is probably not to be too direct, right? But actually these are mere variations, right? There are also references to the use of prepositions, the use of the verb make in the passive, right? Remember, I was made to do something and they were heard to leave. But that's all there is, right? So I'll leave you to the activities in this case, all right? Thank you very much. Bye.